Xin chào các cấp lãnh đạo, ban giám hiệu nhà trường và quý thầy cô. Tôi là Phan Trọng Khôi. Ngày hôm nay tôi xin phép được giới thiệu một bài học chi tiết của bộ sách giáo khoa tiếng Anh lớp 10 Think. 1. Amazing people, objectives, functions. Talking about things you have and haven't done. Offering encouragement. Talking about community service activities. Grammar. Present perfect with just, already and yet. Present perfect versus past simple. Vocabulary. Personality adjectives. Collocations. Phrases with just. Reading. 1. In open class, brainstorm adjectives with students and ask them to write 3 adjectives which describe their own personality. Collect these and read some out of the class. For example, this person is cool, friendly, and intelligent. The rest of the class can guess which student wrote the adjectives. Books open. Read through the adjectives and check pronunciation. In open class, ask concept check questions to check students' understanding. For example, which of the adjectives is negative, boring? Is a cheerful person sad or happy? Happy. Ask students to predict where the stress falls in each word. Say the words for students to repeat and check stress. In open class, students look at the photos and choose adjectives to describe them. Listen to their ideas and ask them to explain the reasons for their choices. 2. Speaking. Read through the instructions and example sentences. Remind students that we use looks, seems plus adjective and looks like plus adjective plus noun. Students complete the exercise in pairs, monitor and help with any questions. 3. Speaking. In small groups, students describe their family and friends. To introduce the activity, you could describe somebody you know. Encourage students to give reasons for the choice of adjectives and to ask each other questions about the people they describe. 4. Tell students they are going to read an article about amazing people. Students read the text quickly to find the answers to the questions. Tell them not to try to understand every word, but to focus on getting a general understanding of the text. 5. You could set the homework research task for students to find out about Papua New Guinea and India before they come up in the text. You could then start off the lesson by asking students to tell the class what they have found out. Read through the sentences with students and check understanding. The text contains some quite difficult vocabulary, so it is a good idea to check or clarify. Wildlife, endangered, messes about, parachute jump, wheelchair. Using pictures from the internet or describing the language in context. Ask students, can you think of any endangered animals? Can you describe somebody you know who messes about? Etc. Ask students to answer any of the questions they can remember from memory before they read again. Encourage students to underline the key information in the questions that they will be looking for in the text. Optional extension. For further work with the reading text, ask students to underline the language that tells them how the writer feels about the person they are describing. For example, in Jackie's text, the most amazing person I know, a really cool mom, all her friends think she's fab. Really lucky to have such a great mom. Discuss their answers in open class and ask students to write any useful expressions in their notebooks. 6. Vocabulary. Look at the example with students to demonstrate the activity. Students work individually or in pairs to complete the exercise. As you check the answers, highlight the pronunciation of the vocabulary. As a follow-up, ask students to work in pairs and ask each other questions such as, what does a creative person do? Mixed ability. Stronger classes. Ask students to try to complete the exercise without looking back at the text. Weaker students can check their answers in the text. Optional extension. As a follow-up to the reading exercise, divide students into pairs and ask them to imagine they are one of the people in the survey. Ask them, How would your lives be different? Ask students to think of at least 4 differences. Listen to some of their ideas in open class as feedback. 7. Use internet images to check the meaning of advertising. Students complete the exercise. Allow them to check answers with a partner before whole class feedback. Think values, human qualities. 1. Focus on the exercise in open class. You may like to give your example before students attempt the task. Encourage them to give reasons for the choice of adjectives. 2. Speaking in pairs. Students describe the person they admire. Monitor and help as they complete the task, as the focus is on fluency in educating the home learner. Avoid correcting errors unless they hinder comprehension. Grammar. Present perfect with just, already, and yet. 1. Focus on the example sentences and ask students to fill the gaps. When checking answers, ask students the following questions. Which word means a short time before now? Just. Which word means before now? Already. Which word do we use when something hasn't happened yet? Ask students to read the rule and complete the gaps with the correct words. Check answers. 2. Students look at the pictures and match them with the sentences. 3. Books closed. As a lead-in to this activity, divide the class into pairs and ask them to imagine they are planning a birthday party for a friend for the weekend. What things did they need to organize? During feedback, ask concept check questions to make sure students have understood the target language. For example, is he going to make a cake in the future? Yes. Does he have the invitations in his house? No. Language note. Students may make the following types of error. I just see my friend. I already have seen that film. I didn't go to Paris yet. Remind them that we use the present perfect as follows in the structures. To have plus just or already plus past participle. To have plus not plus past participle plus yet. 4. Focus on the example and elicit other possible answers. Ask students to work in pairs to complete the exercise, and then compare their answers with another pair and discuss who has the most interesting and amusing answer to each question. Listen to some of their ideas in open class feedback. 5. Books closed. As an introduction to the exercise, write bucket list on the board and ask students to guess what it means. A list of things somebody wants to do before they die. Ask students to work in pairs and discuss what they would put in their own bucket list. Ask them, which of the things on your list would you like to do before you are 20? 6. Speaking. Focus on the sample dialogue and pay attention to pronunciation. Students should use a rising intonation for the first question, with a strong stress on you at the end of the second question. Fast finishes. If any students finish the activity early, ask them to think about their family and friends and write sentences to describe which of the things in exercise 5 they have done. Optional extension. Divide the class into small groups to find out which group has done the most things in the list. Listening. 1. Show students some photos of famous people, either from magazines or on the interactive whiteboard. Divide the class into small groups and ask them to make a list of everything they know about each individual. As feedback, ask each group to describe one of the people in open class without saying the name. The rest of the group guess who is being described. Tell students they are going to hear 2 people playing a game. 2. Read through the instructions and the questions in open class. Before they listen, give students some time to underline keywords. 3. Read through the questions with students. Before repeating the audio, give students the opportunity to answer the question from memory. 4. Speaking. In open class, elicit the rooms of mystery guests and write them on the board. One person has to describe a mystery guest. The other has to guess who it is. Students play in pairs. Think, solve, exceed. 1. Ask students to look at the jobs and decide which qualities best suit these jobs. Make sure the students understand the meaning of all the words. 2. Ask students to compare their answers with a partner. Set a 3-minute time limit. During feedback, ask for the reasons why students think some qualities are necessary for each of the given jobs in Activity 1. The students are required to provide extended responses to their choices. There is a clue section for every 2 units, and you may go to teacher's book for more reference. 3. Speaking. Ask students to discuss in pairs. Monitor and help as necessary. Encouraging students to express themselves in English and use any vocabulary they have learned. Ask some of the students to share their opinions with the whole class. Reading. 1. Speaking. As a warm-up, ask students to work in small groups and decide who the most talented person they know is and why. Ask them, can you think of any very talented children in real life or in fiction? What can they do? Students discuss the questions in pairs. Listen to some of their ideas in open class and find out who was the first student to do each of the things. 2. Writing. Students continue their conversations with a partner and discuss other milestones. Write some examples on the board for them to discuss. For example, swim, ride a bicycle, play tennis, write. 3. Show pictures on the interactive whiteboard of Albert Einstein, Leonardo da Vinci, or a genius of your choice. Use the pictures to explain the word genius. Tell students they are going to read about 3 children who did things at a very early age. Students read the text quickly to answer the questions. Tell them not to worry if they do not understand every word. Students compare answers with a partner before checking in an open class. 4. Check or clarify. University decree, contract, publishing house, exhibition, gallery. Read through the questions with students to check understanding. Ask them to work with a partner to decide which are the keywords in the questions. Students read and listen to the text to answer the questions. Optional extension. Write the following questions on the board. Which child in the text impresses you most? How does a child become a genius? Are they already a genius when they are born? Is it because of their parents? Is it because they practice a lot? Would you like to be a genius? Why? Why not? In pairs or small groups, students discuss their answers to the questions. Hold an open class discussion and write any interesting vocabulary on the board. Grammar. Present perfect versus past simple. 1. Ask students to answer the questions from memory before referring back to page 16 to check. During feedback, ask students, when did all of these events happen? In the past, present, or future? The past. Which questions could you answer with a specific point of time? 1 and 3. Which tense is used? The past simple or present perfect? Past simple. Which tense is used in 2 and 4? Present perfect. Students complete the room in pairs before you check in open class. 2. In open class, elicit the answers to question 1 and demonstrate why each tense is used. Ask students to work individually to complete the sentences. Vocabulary. Collocations. 1. Do the first question in open class as an example and to introduce the concept of collocation. You can sign a contract or an autograph, but you can't sign a lesson. Point out that there may be more than one correct answer to each question. 2. Speaking. Explain to students that they are going to ask questions to other members of the class in a find someone who activity. In preparation for the exercise, ask students to decide which questions they need to ask to get the information. They should think of a have you ever question and a details question for each. Point out that the details questions will use the past simple as they are asking about a specific point in the past. Mixed ability. Weaker classes give students time to write down full questions before they mingle. Stronger classes suggest more questions to add to the list. Optional extension. If any students finish the activity early, ask them to write a short paragraph describing one of their experiences. Writing. Ask students to make notes on their answers and monitor to help with any vocabulary. You may like to give an example of your own to get them started. Give students a short while to think about their answers to the questions and to make notes of their answers. Divide the class into pairs for students to discuss their plans with a partner. Language note. When responding to students' written work, it is important to focus not only on grammatical and lexical accuracy, but on other various factors. These factors can be neatly remembered with the acronym CARROT. Content. Has the student answered the question? Accuracy. Is the grammar and spelling correct? Range. Has the student used an appropriate variety of tenses, vocabulary, and structures? Register. Is the writing suitably formal, informal, or neutral? Organization. Has the student used paragraphs? Have they used linking words? Target reader. What effect does it have on the person reading it? Photo story. The new cafe. 1. Write these questions on the board. Have you ever been to an opening ceremony? What was opened? Who would you invite to open a new cafe in your town? Students ask and answer the questions in pairs. Ask some parents to report back to the class. Students look at the photos and describe what the people are doing. Ask them to guess the answers to the questions without reading the conversation and write their ideas on the board. These can then be referred to during feedback. 2. Play the audio. Students read and listen to check their answers. Ask students to check answers with a partner before feedback in open class. Developing speaking. 3. Divide the class into pairs and ask students to guess the continuation of the story. Ask them to write their answers in their notebooks, monitor and help with any questions. Listen to some of their ideas in open class and write some of their ideas on the board, but don't comment at this stage. 4. Play the video while students check their ideas. During feedback, refer to the ideas on the board and check which were correct. 5. Divide the class into pairs and ask students to complete the exercise. Monitor and help with any difficulties. Phrases for fluency. 1. Ask students to locate the expressions 1 to 4 in the story on page 23 and decide who says them. Ask them, how would you say the expressions in your own language? Ask students to compare their answers with a partner before open class feedback. 2. Ask students to read through the sentences and complete the answers. Go through the first sentence with them as an example if necessary. During feedback, say the sentences for students to repeat. Drill sentences to ensure correct pronunciation. In pairs, students practice the conversations. In every unit, there is a section for pronunciation practice in intonation and sentence stress. Word-wise, phrases with just. 1. Books closed. Write on the board. I've just passed my driving test. There were just 12 people at the concert. The film was just brilliant. Ask students to try to explain the different meanings of just in the 3 sentences. Books open. Students match the meanings and sentences. check answers and elicit further examples. 2. Students read through the sentences and match the meaning of chess with the 3 options in exercise 1. 3. Students complete the exercise and compare answers with a partner before home class feedback. Functions offering encouragement. 1. Students watch the video again and identify who says the sentences. Pause the video after each sentence if necessary. Good courses. 2. Role play. Divide the class into pairs and assign a letter A or B to each student. Ask students to read their role cards. Tell students they should use some of the sentences from exercise 1. Students work in pairs and hold the conversations. Monitor to help with any problems and also offer ideas, as the focus is on fluency and educating the home learner, avoiding correcting errors unless they hinder comprehension. Ask students to put a tick next to a sentence each time they use it and compete to use as many phrases as possible. Xin cảm ơn sự theo dõi của tất cả mọi người. Chúng tôi hy vọng sách tiếng Anh 10 Things sẽ đem lại những trải nghiệm bổ ích và thú vị, không chỉ dành riêng cho các em học sinh mà còn cho cả quý thầy cô giáo trong quá trình dạy và học tiếng Anh.